Hello everyone, and welcome back. I'm Sam, and I'm excited to continue our journey together. In our last session, we got our hands dirty with K5, exploring the fantastic techniques and tools we use to build digital solutions. We learned about the how of creation. But here's a question for you. Is a project finished when the code is written? Is it over when the product launches? The answer is a resounding no. That's often just the end of the beginning. Today, we're going to zoom out from the workshop and look at the entire lifespan of a technology solution. Our topic is K6, the approaches and techniques used throughout the digital and technology solution lifecycle and their applicability to an organization's standards and pre-existing tools. That sounds like a mouthful, I know. But think of it this way, every product, just like a person, has a life story. It has a birth, a period of growth, a long and productive maturity, and eventually, a retirement. Understanding this full life cycle is what separates a good technologist from a great one, because it helps you understand the true, long-term impact and cost of your work. Let's use my scaffold and ascend method to break this KSB down. First, what exactly is this life cycle? It's simply a model that breaks down the entire existence of a product or system into a series of logical stages. It gives us a map for the whole journey. While there are many different models, a simple and effective way to think about it is in 5 key phases. It starts with concept and planning, where the initial idea is born and we build the business case. Then comes design and development, where we actually build the thing using the techniques from K5. After that, we have implementation and testing, where we launch the solution and make sure it works. Then comes the longest and often most expensive phase, operations and maintenance. This is where the solution is live and needs constant support. And finally, every solution reaches its retirement phase, where it's carefully decommissioned. A great analogy is the life cycle of a car. It starts as a concept sketch, gets designed and built, is launched to the public, and then spends years on the road needing fuel and regular maintenance, before it eventually ends up at the scrapyard. Understanding every stage is crucial. Now, let's tackle the second half of this KSB, which is all about the real-world rules we have to follow. First, organizational standards. This means that throughout every stage of that life cycle, we are not free to do whatever we want. We have to follow the rules of the road set by our organization. These standards exist for critical reasons like security, legal compliance, and ensuring consistency across the company. Second, pre-existing tools. This is incredibly practical. No new technology solution is an island. It has to live and work within the company's existing ecosystem of hundreds of other applications. This process of making sure our new, shiny solution can talk to the old, existing ones is called integration. A good lifecycle plan thinks about integration from day one. To really understand K6, let's put one of those lifecycle stages under the microscope. Let's look at operations and maintenance, because this is often the longest and most expensive part of the journey. This stage starts the second a new solution is launched. So what actually happens here? First, there's monitoring. Teams use special tools to constantly watch the health of the system. Then there's user support. Real people will be using the system, and they will need help. Providing that support is a key part of maintenance. Of course, there will be bug fixing. No piece of software is perfect. And finally, there are enhancements, where the team will make small, continuous improvements based on user feedback. This is where those standards and integrations become so important. The team must follow security standards when they make updates. They need to use the company's standard helpdesk tool, a pre-existing tool, to manage user support tickets. The life cycle isn't just about the big launch, it's about the years of care that follow. Now let's look at the final stage, the one we often forget to plan for, retirement. This is also known as decommissioning. Sooner or later, every piece of technology reaches the end of its useful life. It might be because it's just too old and expensive to keep running, or because it's being replaced by something much better. But we can't just pull the plug. Retiring a system is a project in itself. First, we need clear communication to tell everyone what is happening. The most critical step is data migration or archiving. What happens to all the valuable historical data in that old system? We need a careful plan to either move it to the new system or store it safely. And only then, after all that careful planning, do we perform the final shutdown. A graceful retirement is just as important as a successful launch. So why do we need to know about this entire life cycle? Because it fundamentally changes how you view your role and makes you a far more valuable professional. For Chloe, as a future software engineer, this is transformative. When you realize that the code you write today might have to be maintained by someone else for 10 years, you start to think differently. You focus on writing clear, well-documented code. That's the difference between a junior coder and a senior engineer. For Tom, as a business analyst, this is your territory. You are one of the few people who sees the whole journey, from helping with the business case at the concept stage to planning the data migration at the retirement stage. For Ben, as a data analyst, your skills are needed everywhere. You provide the data for the initial business case, you analyze user behavior during the operations phase, and you ensure data is correctly migrated at the end. For Aisha, as a future IT consultant, this is your secret weapon. Any consultant can give a price for building a new website. A top-tier consultant talks about the total cost of ownership, including the long-term costs of maintenance and decommissioning. For Liam, as a network engineer, you have to think about the whole lifecycle. The network needs to be ready for launch day, but it also needs to be able to scale as the solution grows and be securely reconfigured when the old system is retired. And for Maya, as a cybersecurity analyst, this proves that security is not just a single stage. It's a constant process of secure design, continuous monitoring during operations, and secure data disposal at retirement. Let's make this real and gather some powerful evidence for your portfolio. This week, I want you to become a solution historian at your company. Here are 3 small actions you can take. First, find the stage. Pick one of the main software systems your team relies on. Ask your manager or a senior colleague, "I'm just curious, how long have we been using this system?" Based on their answer, try to determine which lifecycle stage it's in. Second, find a standard. Ask your team lead if there are any key company standards you have to follow. It might be a specific security rule or a list of approved software. Find just one and write it down in your portfolio. Third, find an integration. Think about the systems you use. Can you identify one point where it connects to another system? For example, maybe when you update a customer's address in one system, it automatically updates in another. Describe that connection in 1 or 2 sentences. This shows you're thinking about the whole ecosystem. Let's do a quick recap. Today, we've zoomed out from the act of building and looked at the entire life story of a technology solution, its lifecycle. We've seen that this journey has distinct stages, from the initial concept all the way through to its eventual retirement. And we've learned that all along this journey, we must follow our organization's standards and ensure our work integrates with the tools that are already there. Your mission this week is to take this new perspective into your workplace. Just choose one of the actions from the previous slide. Start looking for the signs of the lifecycle, the rules of the road, and the connections between systems. In our next session, we'll build on this by looking at Case 7, where we'll explore the specific roles and functions that people like you have within the teams that manage this entire lifecycle. Thank you for your focus. Understanding the whole story is a massive leap in your professional development. You've done brilliantly today.